Hey guys, and welcome back to Discern. Today is Monday, October 11th, a day historically recognized as Columbus Day, but if you've been reading the news at all, it has become quite the controversy, and so we're gonna spend our time talking about that today. So this is from CBS Boston. Acting Mayor Kim Janey announced Wednesday that Boston will observe Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day. The executive order was signed at City Hall. While it leaves one community happy, another across the street in the North End is not. So Jim, this topic has been pretty divisive recently, and there might be some people who don't fully understand the ins and outs of it. And so could you just help us understand why it is controversial?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's really on three levels. On the one side, there are those that would say Columbus Day is exactly appropriately a day to honor an individual who came to what we now call the Americas in 1492 as a means of exploring the larger world and as a means of bringing the gospel to new peoples. There's a lot of literature around Columbus's own personal faith and his desire to be a missionary, as it were, and to explore the world for the sake of the gospel. So that's a positive reading. On a negative reading, there's those that would say actually the motive was far more financial than it was spiritual, especially for Spain and those that financed his trip. There's no question that European diseases decimated the indigenous populations as those that followed Columbus came into America and that which would come after that. And so there's been those that have said, look, this was in many ways a very damaging thing for the indigenous populations. And then on a third level, there are those that would say that calling it Columbus Day is in fact on some levels almost a racist move. There were those, unfortunately, tragically, and I'm not blaming Columbus for this, but certainly there were some in Europe who saw the indigenous peoples that were discovered in America as a subspecies, as in some ways an inferior species, as people who would on some level actually be benefited by being enslaved by Europeans or being made to serve Europeans. The same sort of heretical, blasphemous lie that was said about Africans, that they would be better off enslaved to Europeans and living in African tribes. An absolutely horrendous, horrific, sinful statement. But that has come out of some of this as well. So really it gets into that larger discussion about a critical race theory and about America's founding and all that's inside that. But that's been the three ways people have looked at it. It's a great day for Columbus, and we should celebrate that. It was a bad day for indigenous Americans on some ways, or it was even a movement toward kind of a enslaving sort of a depreciation of people groups. And those are various ways people have been looking at it in recent decades.
Yeah, so I think just acknowledging that this is a controversial topic and people fall all along the spectrum of kind of those three levels that you said. People feel differently about it. How do we as believers, and should we as believers, engage in these conversations, and how can we do so in a loving and redemptive way?
Yeah, that's a huge question, not just regards Columbus Day, of course, but the midterm elections coming up in a year, obviously partisan politics of the day, issues around abortion with the Supreme Court coming up, so many divisive issues. The simple solution is to pull back. The simple solution, as we saw in earlier conversation, was a Christ against culture sort of a model where we just want to pull back, have nothing to do with this, just kind of withdraw from the divisiveness. I don't know that that's a biblical model. Jesus calls us the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Salt's no good in the salt shaker, light's no good under the bushel basket. So I think we do have to engage with these issues, but we want to do so with, I think, three facts in mind. First of all, we're here to glorify Jesus, not just to win arguments. You can win arguments and lose souls, as it were. So make sure that what you say and how you say it honors Jesus all across the board. Make sure your witness is preserved and advanced in what you say and in how you do this. Second, use these issues as a way of leading people beyond the issue to Jesus himself. The only one that can really resolve the conflicts of the human heart is Jesus. There's a God-shaped emptiness in our souls. As Pascal said, Augustine said, our hearts are restless until they rest in him. And ultimately, the answer to racism, the answer to divisiveness is a relationship, a personal transforming relationship with Jesus. So we're looking to move these issues, use them as a means of getting beyond them to Christ himself. It's Jesus starting with water in John 4 and leading the woman to living water is the idea, right? And so we're looking for ways to do that. And so on a third level, be prayerful. Be saying, Lord, lead me into these conversations. Show me where I need to be engaged and where I don't. Show me what battles need to be fought and which ones don't. Show me where you want me to be involved in this. And if so, lead me into how to do this, because the Lord knows their heart and their mind, and he can use these conversations to lead people to himself if we're willing to be used. So it's not on you. Don't feel like it's all about you and you have to do it yourself. If you'll every day say, Lord, lead me through this day. Show me what issues to be involved with. Show me how to use them to glorify you. He will answer that prayer and he will use you as salt and light today.
I think all of those tips can be used in any divisive situation, which there's no shortage of right now. And so, yeah, I think that was a great way to end our show, especially just I needed a good reminder of we're not here to win arguments, and just always approaching conversations with humility. And that happens through prayer. And so, yeah, that was just a great way to leave us, Jim. That's all we have for y'all today. We will see you back here tomorrow on Discern.